The story begins in the town of Alice Springs, Australia. In the year 1975, we are introduced to a young woman named Robyn Davidson, who has left her home behind and come here to make one of the biggest decisions of her life, to cross the vast Australian desert. However, Robyn has neither a place to stay nor enough money to fund her journey. So, she arrives in town looking for work. She had already written letters to some important people about her journey, but so far, no one has responded with any help. After a few days, she manages to find a temporary job and a place to stay. But for her expedition, she also needs 3 camels, along with essential supplies and food. She needs camels to carry the load throughout the journey. Whenever Robyn tells people about her plan, they consider her crazy. In the same town, there is a camel farm owned by a man named Kurt. Robyn approaches him and tells him about her journey. But Kurt shows no interest. He simply says her plan is ridiculous. Robyn responds by saying that her father crossed Africa's Kalahari Desert in 1935, and that wasn't a foolish venture. Still, Kurt doesn't agree. Robyn tries to convince him that she is a hardworking woman. That's when Kurt gets an idea. He tells her that if she works for him for 8 months, without pay, he will teach her how to handle camels and give her to camels at the end. Robyn asks if they can sign an agreement, but Kurt refuses, saying his word is enough. Kurt's wife offers Robyn a place to stay inside their home, but Robyn prefers to stay in her tent outside. Over the 8 months, she learns a great deal about camels. However, Kurt isn't a kind person. He makes Robyn work very hard, even telling her to walk barefoot to toughen up her feet for the rough terrain. Robyn learns especially about male camels, which are notoriously difficult to manage. But she eventually masters how to handle them. When the agreed time is up, Robyn asks Kurt for the 2 camels as promised, but he backs out and even throws her out of his house. Angry and disappointed, Robyn leaves. On her way, she finds an abandoned, broken-down house and decides to make it her home. Nearby lives a man named Sally, whose family has been raising camels for generations. Robyn meets him and tells him about her journey and how Kurt betrayed her. Sally, being a kind man, advises her to reconsider her decision. He says such a journey might even get her killed. But seeing her determination, he agrees to give her 1 camel in exchange for 1 month of work. Robyn needs 3 camels, so she agrees to work for 3 months. During this time, Robyn learns even more about camels from Sally. Sometime later, a few of her friends come to visit and are shocked to see her living conditions. They try to convince her to shorten the journey, but Robyn isn't interested. She's someone who wants to live away from the chaos and greed of the world. Among her visitors is a photographer named Rick. In fact, it was Rick who had suggested that National Geographic might sponsor her journey, knowing she also needed money. Story continues in the next part. Let me know if you'd like the rest of the story translated too. Here is the English translation of the next part of the story. Robyn tries to talk to the new owner of Kurt's farm, but he refuses to honor the previous deal and says Kurt never mentioned any agreement about camels. The man is new and struggling to handle the camels. So when Robyn helps him out, he's impressed and ends up giving her the camels. Robyn is overjoyed and writes a letter to National Geographic, explaining her journey and hoping for a sponsorship. A few days before the journey, Sally warns Robyn that if she ever sees a wild male camel running toward her, she shouldn't hesitate and must shoot it immediately. He even gives her a gun for protection. Robyn also writes a letter to her father and sister telling them that she'll be starting her journey soon. Her sister, who is married, wishes Robyn would settle down and live a normal life. But Robyn is different. She wants something more soon. After Robyn receives a reply from National Geographic, they are willing to sponsor her journey, with one condition. A photographer will accompany her to document the trip. That photographer turns out to be her friend, Rick. Rick brings some important supplies for her, and finally, the day comes when Robyn is ready to begin her long journey. She says goodbye to her friends and Sally. Now, the pregnant camel has given birth, and Robyn loads all 3 camels with supplies. The baby camel walks alongside its mother, and Robyn's loyal dog is also with her. Along the way, she stops at several small villages. Whenever she takes a break, Rick is there to capture her photos. Slowly, Robyn's story starts getting attention and appears in newspapers. After 29 continuous days on the journey, she reaches Mount Olga National Park. However, the park rangers don't allow her to enter, meaning she has to take a detour, making the journey even longer. That night, she camps near Mount Olga, and Rick takes more photos. The next morning, she sets off again. Rick meets her only occasionally, as Robyn doesn't like being photographed all the time. But Rick keeps taking pictures regardless. One day, during a violent sandstorm, instead of helping Robyn, Rick keeps taking photos, which makes her very angry. Days pass. Robyn continues her journey. Some days are extremely difficult, while others are peaceful. 2 months go by, the camels are still healthy, but Robyn is now extremely tired and weak. One morning, she wakes up to find that all her camels are missing. Panicked, she searches the desert and eventually finds them. Frustrated, she scolds the camels. Later, she reaches another village, where Rick and one of his colleagues are waiting for her. She rests there for a couple of days. The next day, she's warned that the path ahead goes through a sacred land where no outsider woman is allowed. So again, Robyn must take another detour, this one extremely dangerous and potentially life-threatening. But she doesn't lose courage and keeps going. One day, while resting, she sees 3 wild male camels approaching. She remembers Sally's warning and immediately pulls out her gun, shooting 2 of them. Even though it's painful, she knows it was necessary. As she continues, she comes across a river. She bathes herself and her animals, is approached by a group of 3 Aboriginal men and 1 Australian named Joseph. When Robyn tells them about her journey, they're shocked. Joseph warns her that the path she's chosen will take her through a dangerous gorge where she could easily get lost. Robyn explains that she can't go through the direct route because the land is considered sacred. Joseph agrees to help and sends one of the Aboriginal men named Eddie to accompany her. Eddie knows a little English and speaks to Robyn in his own language as well. He travels with Robyn for a few days. Then, on the way, Robyn meets a famous traveler.
Let me know if you'd like the next portion translated as well. Here is the English translation of the final part of the story. She meets a man named Glendale and tells him about her journey.
She also asks for his help specifically to send a letter to National Geographic since she needs some supplies. At this point, Eddie wants to return because his part of the journey is over. But Robyn asks him for more help, as he points to his shoes and says they aren't good enough for such a long journey. So Robyn gives him a pair of shoes from Glendale. Several days pass and they continue their journey. One day, some tourists pass by and try to take Robyn's photo. But she doesn't like being photographed by strangers, so she doesn't stop and keeps moving. By now, Robyn is becoming known as the Camel Lady, and everyone refers to her by that name. In another scene, Eddie hunts a kangaroo. When Robyn tries to cut it up, Eddie stops her, saying that it's against the local rules women aren't allowed to butcher animals. After 20 days, Robyn and Eddie reach another village, where Rick is already waiting for them. At this point, Eddie's part of the journey ends. He can't go any farther, but ahead lies one of the toughest parts of the journey. It's a desert where there's absolutely no water. Rick tells Robyn that he'll try to arrange water supplies for her at every checkpoint. A few days later, Robyn enters the desert, but things quickly become difficult. Her body starts giving up, and she begins hallucinating. One day, she loses her compass. After a long search, she finds it again, but she's still lost in her thoughts and memories. Still, she doesn't stop. She keeps moving forward. Eventually, she reaches a house and stands outside for a long time, unsure if it's real or another illusion. But it's real. An elderly woman comes out and takes her inside. They feed her and let her bathe. When they learn that Robyn has traveled such a long distance, they're amazed. Robyn stays there for a few days and then sets out again. One day, her dog drinks poisoned water out of thirst and dies. Robyn is devastated by the loss. She breaks down, especially since she had lost a dog during her childhood as well. Now she's very close to her destination. She stops at one place, and soon, many journalists and reporters arrive as Robyn's story has become widely known. They all want to meet her and take pictures, but Robyn doesn't want to meet anyone. She is emotionally drained. She has nearly completed her journey. Robyn and Rick stay in a village for a few more days. Then they finally complete the last stretch of the expedition. Rick is waiting for her at the ocean shore. When Robyn arrives, she hugs him tightly. And with that, the story comes to an end. Let me know in the comments which movie story you'd like to hear. Thanks. Because I read every one of your comments and truly appreciate them. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Music, would you like a summarized version or video title description hashtags as well?